Hi, everyone. This is Virginia Parsons, your Hangout mentor and the host of the Inspirational Businesswoman Show. And we have moved over to Blab. And we've moved over to Blab from the show that we just produced over in Hangouts and Air, excuse me, to continue the discussion. So if you are joining us, thank you so much. If you catch this in replay, we appreciate it as well. Let me tell you a little bit about who we have on the show with us today. We have none other than Ellen Finkelstein. Let me bring up this slide. And we have been talking about webinar profit planning and list building strategies. And I'll tell you what, Ellen is a real pro in this area, and she's got years and years of experience. She started writing books, back in the 90s, right, Ellen? Or was it earlier than that? And books on technology. And you'll find her story a little bit interesting because she didn't know the answers, but she figured them out through other books. Right, Ellen? So go ahead, come on in and say hi to everyone. And let's give them a little more background on how you got to be known as an internet marketing consultant and wrote all those books on technology. Let's share that with everyone.
I guess, the story is in 1984, I was a benefits manager at a bank. And I was doing a proposal for a 401k plan, which is a type of pension plan. And I was presenting them to the Board of Trustees. And they kept on asking me to do them over and over and over again. And of course, I was doing them on an adding machine and giving them to my secretary to type. And about the third time I said to my boss, I knew that such a thing existed. There was an Apple computer. I said, if they tell me one more time to do this, I'd like you to have someone show me how to use this. And it was Lotus 123, which is like Excel. And some guy spent, an hour with me showing me how to use it. And it was like a miracle to me. And to me, I've always had this combination of technology and I guess the soft side, even being a benefits manager, a very technical field, very legal, very financial, but you're helping people with their employee benefits. And the same thing happened with computers. I started getting involved with computers. And when I started having my own website and started writing books, it was like there was the writing side, the artistic side, so to speak. But I was writing about technology. And I've always put those two things together. And I really like that, I guess, left brain, right brain thing happening together. And the opportunity to write a book kind of fell into my lap because I was doing some technical editing and an author had dropped out and they were sort of desperate. So they gave me the book to do, and it led from that topic, which was AutoCAD, to PowerPoint. And then with PowerPoint, I actually had a pretty embarrassing moment where I wrote an article for a magazine and I put in there a slide, and somebody wrote a letter to the editor saying how awful the slide was. And from there, I still remember the pain in my heart from reading that. And I realized I'm not a designer, and I'm artistically challenged to some extent. I realized I needed to learn. So I started on this process of going to a presentation conference every year, of looking at prize-winning presentations and reading books, and learned how to design slides. And in fact, one of my books is called Slide Design for Non-Designers. And so it kind of came through that way, through PowerPoint. I became a PowerPoint MVP, which is a Microsoft award. There are 13 of us in the United States.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, they have them on all of their different products, lots of them, but there are 13 of us.
Yeah, well, how do you get to be one of 13?
Well, it's partly by going to that conference and meeting the other PowerPoint MVPs. I got to know them, but you have to give free content to the user community. And so I did that with my blog. I had a blog called a PowerPoint Tips blog, and just developed an expertise at it. And eventually somebody recommended me for it. And you still have to prove yourself every year, get recertified, I suppose it is. So that was kind of how it had happened. And then because I lived in a small town, not near anything, and when I started out, I had small children. They're grown up now. But I wanted to work at home. And so everything I did pretty much was online. And the equivalent of speaking, of presenting online, is doing webinars. And so I've been talking a lot about webinars and how to use them to grow your list, to reach more people, and to earn more profits, because they're an extremely powerful tool.
Yes, they are. And I think that they can, if designed correctly, and that's why what you're talking about, being good at PowerPoint and designing something that is effective, is what makes a webinar so powerful. I have been to webinars that are boring. There's no artwork on it. It's black and white, and all they're doing pretty much is reading the slides, and then they're not on the they're not there either, because they're just in the background. So I think that you have found ways to overcome those challenges with webinars, haven't you? Why don't you share a little bit about that?
Sure. I have a technique that I call the tell and show method. And basically you use the slide title to tell the point you want to say, and then you show that point. And this is something that's not new in marketing, that you try to show people. You don't just tell people. The thing about putting all the text on the slides is that people hate it. This is not just people telling me. There have been surveys on it. But another thing happens that's really counterproductive if you want to get people's attention. And that is when you put up all the text, people start reading it, but they can read faster than you can speak it. So they go ahead of you and they shut your voice out because they're not in sync. And then when they finish, they go back to listening to you and they realize you're still talking about stuff they've already read. And so that's when they go and, look at their email. And so it becomes this lack of synchronization where people completely disengage from what you're doing. So instead, if you just tell your point with the title or very few words, as very few words as you can, and then you show it with a powerful image. An image should be big, and it should be attention getting, and it should be relevant, and it should be emotional. Then you can create slides that are not only pleasing to look at, but they're also persuasive.
And that's why I'd say this particular one, which of course is not fully expanded on the Blab screen, is way too much information. But I put it up to introduce you and have it really as a cue card, because otherwise I'm, looking down like this. So that's the point of it. But I would never recommend you use a slide like that necessarily when you're attempting to make a point. Instead, I might use a slide like this, where if you all want to take advantage of Ellen's, she's got a wonderful ultimate webinar planning worksheet that you can get. And you can go to hmtips.com/Ellen Gift. And you can see there's a few pictures there. And I think it makes the point as far as a slide that is a little more effective. Would you agree?
I would, except that other slide that you're doing, you're just telling what the topics are, and you're not going, that's okay. It's really okay, because you're not planning. But if you were planning to discuss them, then you wouldn't want to spend 10 minutes going through them in detail. No. You would want to then take that summary and then break them out on individual slides. So I think it was okay, because you used that slide as a graphic. You're not really to give across that information of what my topics were going to be. So I think you're okay, Virginia.
Okay. All right. But I had a gal on several weeks ago, and we talked about this and the importance of one point on a slide, and that's it. And then talk about it in good graphics. So you're just re-emphasizing what she had recommended, and we don't see often enough. And again, I'm just one of those that thinks that you need to be present as well. You need to be part of the presentation. I know that some people do hide out behind their slides. They don't like to be on camera. And I'm not saying that I'm totally comfortable with being on camera. I just do the best I can. But at least being on camera, I hope that someone gets a sense of who I am. I'm just being myself the best that I can be. And as you know, we really had to fool around here before we started recording this Blab, because for whatever reason, the microphone was not picking me up, even though it had worked fine on our Hangout. So we got started a little bit late. But anyway, I think that it's important that people are on screen as well as PowerPoints. So I know that you use Zoom, and I love Sheila says, yeah, that's why we love Zoom.
And I have to give her a little shout out, because she's the one who introduced me to Zoom.
Oh, is she? Okay, Sheila. Very good for spreading the word. And, I also noticed about Zoom that it's not a Google product, is it?
No, it's a private product. It's its own thing. It's at zoom.us, and it was started by some people who used to work for WebEx. So yeah, and it's not a completely free product. They have a free level that I recommend that people go to and try out.
Yeah.
And you can use it. It's not just like 30-day trial. It's a permanent level that's free. So yeah, I like it for many reasons. It gives me all the advantages of webinars. It's less expensive, and it records the webcam, which GoToWebinar doesn't do.
Yeah, I think that's critical.
Yeah,
I use XSplit to do something similar, but I just think it's really important that you make the connection with your audience as well, and that you're not just reading slides. And yet, we all know that webinars are a great way to do sales. The conversions on webinars are very high, and that's without the image. So I'd love to see what the difference is in conversions when you got yourself on the screen as well as the slides. Do you have any information on that?
I don't. And if anybody here would like to do some A/B testing with it, I'd love to work with you on that. I'd like to do that. Would be a nice thing of with the video and without the video, the webcam, but also just with plain text slides and with visual persuasive slides. I really think I could. And I've done this with somebody who did live presentations. So I had a client who's a financial planner, and he had a 50% conversion rate when he did live, which is incredible. And after we changed the slides, it went up to 70%, he said. And the thing that was so powerful about that was that he had done the same presentation many, 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 many times. So it wasn't just a few things. He really knew what it was. And a lot of the other people I've worked with are not selling, so it's been hard for me to get actual conversion statistics. But people just tell me that it's so different in terms of how the audience responds. So I had a trainer, for example, who took a course I taught on high persuasive slides, and she wrote me back 3 months later and said, it works. And she said, I've done this training 70 times, and I can see the difference in the audience and how they're reacting. So it's very powerful.
Well, there's another thing that I think is probably more on a subconscious level, but I'd love your feedback on this. And that is when you are looking into the camera and making that connection with your audience while you may have a slide to the side, or, the way I do it with a slide over my shoulder, subconsciously, they might not be as tempted to go off and multitask if you're looking at them.
Well, it's true that. So one of the things we know is that people, when you're in a live situation and people are in the room, they are less likely to multitask because it's a little embarrassing to be looking down, and you're there and that you capture their attention. So I think there's some of that as well. Both you and having slides that are very visual, but also move very quickly. You really shouldn't have any one slide on the screen for very long. And so that visual movement really captures people's attention, and they go, oh, if I look down, I'm going to miss something.
Very good point. Because so you would be, again, you're going to make one point on the slide, move to the next. And yes, if they're not there, they're going to miss it if they're looking elsewhere. So I love that idea. Now, you use PowerPoint and you use Zoom, and you are on a camera to the side, and you do this also when you're teaching. Is that correct? Or you also do it with one-on-ones, right?
Yeah, I do. Yes. So Zoom lets you share your screen. You can just be kind of like this, where you have on Blab, where you're just seeing the person, but then you can share your screen, and then you have the webcam in the corner. And I do it one-on-one as well. And sometimes when we share the screen, we're working on PowerPoint. We're not using slides, so to speak. We're working in something. Today I did a website review for somebody. And so we were going through her website, but we could still see each other as well.
Yeah. And that I do the same thing with Hangouts. When I'm doing my private consultations, I am doing it on Hangouts for the same reason. I love that Hangouts you can make private. Right. Which, we just can't do that here on Blab. It's out there to the world. Right. Now, I am recording this so that people can come back and watch during replay, and you have the ability to not record it. So then when you're done, no one can see it. But these other broadcasting platforms, I think, are great for that, so that you can use it as a totally private coaching tool. I also use Hangouts for doing my courses. I create my courses. I'm live on my courses. I've got my PowerPoints over my shoulder, but I'm still there. And then they so quickly turn into an evergreen course because it's all recorded.
Right.
So,
and you use XSplit is what makes it the slide behind you and you're in the front.
Right. Yeah. So as an example of your intro here, now it doesn't show up right because here I'd have to put myself in front of the screen.
Right.
But so that's also the challenge of working with here. There, see, I'm there too. So these are all slides. It could be PowerPoints just as well.
Right. Very cool.
And I will, by the way, since I've pulled this one back up for you, I will put Ellen's gift link on in the chat here. So if you're watching live or if you want to come and catch it in replay, you definitely want to take advantage of her Ultimate Webinar Planning worksheet. But Ellen, also tell them again about the webinar you have going on tomorrow. I think you said it was tomorrow. Yeah.
Yes, it's tomorrow. It's called High Profit Webinar Secrets. And I'm going to talk all about what you need to do to create high profit webinars. So lots of tips and lots of secrets about your script, about your slides, about planning. And with that, you will get two things. But the main one is I call it the Ultimate Webinar Planning Worksheet, which is crucial when you do a webinar to plan the promotion and if you're using affiliates, to plan the affiliates and to set it all up and plan your script and your offer as well. And then the follow-up. So that's another important aspect about webinars. And then there's also a handout, which is basically something for people to take notes, but we'll be doing a short workshop during that where people will actually start the process of figuring out what their topic is going to be and why it's important and the couple of points that they're going to make and then how they're going to visualize them. So we'll have, a 5 or 10 minute workshop within that. And I'll answer people's questions at the end. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. People should definitely sign up for It's tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. And they just have to go to that link that you gave them and they will just go through the process and they'll get to the place where they get the link to sign up. It's free.
Okay, well, I've put the link down there. And so if you get Ellen's gift, that will take you, which is the planning worksheet, that will take you directly to the opportunity to register for the webinar. And the webinar is free?
Yep, it is.
Yeah, we were talking about that, providing free, valuable content for people and building the list at the same time. So, the only thing that is asked very often with the different shows, I've been doing my show for 2 years now. And for a year and a half, I gave it to you indefinitely without asking anything in return. Now, all I ask is for a name and an email. Thank you, guys. I hope that you feel that I've provided enough value after, 18 months to start giving me your emails if you want to watch. Because isn't this lady great? She's got so much information. And, one of the things I also want to ask is when you're doing and planning a webinar, especially when you're planning a webinar that you want to have be profitable, how long in advance do you recommend that someone start planning for a webinar they're going to be offering?
In the worksheet, I start 8 weeks in advance. And I know that sounds kind of a little crazy, but it depends. If you've done the webinar before, maybe it doesn't have to be as long, or if you are doing it just one-on-one with one affiliate and you already know who that is and you don't have to find affiliates, it doesn't have to be as long. But 8 weeks is a good average for doing that, for setting up the sales page and setting up your affiliates and figuring out your marketing plan. And there's all of that planning in advance. Good idea to do it well in advance. Eventually you can cut that down, again, especially if you've already done the same webinar. And one of the amazing things about webinars is you can automate them. So you can take the recordings and automate them and make the whole thing very simple and create a passive income that way.
Yeah, that I think is just so important because once you've created it once, you can put it into one of those programs, right? There's, I know I've got both Easy Webinar and webinar, I think it's called. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you've got the ability for people to see it again at their own pace. And if you've got it already created. And I like to also add things like the checklists. I'm a big one on checklists that accompany what you're teaching. And you've done just that. And I'm going to hold it up, you guys, so you can see it. It's a mighty document and lots of places for you to fill in the blanks. And it's like 6 pages, something like that. So that's a great freebie. Margarita, if you want to come in and say hi for a minute, if you got a minute more, Ellen, to say hi, if anyone wants to come in and say hi. Margarita, all the way from Italy. No, not Margarita's not from Italy. No, Margarita, you're from Canada, aren't you? Yes, come in and say hi.
Yes, she is.
Great.
Yeah, here I am.
Hey.
I live in Kingston, Ontario, and I'm from Sweden originally.
Ah, that's right. She's our crystal lady. How are you coming, by the way, on your book that you recently published?
Oh! I have it. Hold on.
This is your chance. It's your chance. Have you interviewed Margarita, Ellen?
No, I haven't.
Oh well, Margarita, you meet Ellen. You two maybe need to connect. She does a great interview.
Oh, how cool that is! Very cool.
Hold it up again, the front.
It's a beautiful,
Your heart
beautiful
touches
cover.
matter. It's a
And
chocolate coloring book.
Yes, and it's a course inside and a membership, and then the end, it's the drawings.
Beautiful. Wow.
60
And
drawings.
you
Lotus.
created all these, didn't you, Margarita?
Yeah.
Those are
Yes.
lotus drawings, yeah. Mandalas. I call them mandalas.
Yes.
Yeah. Very beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful. I can't believe you created all those
In 30 days.
in
Wow.
30 days. It took
In
you longer
30
to finish
days.
the book.
And in the end, there's a treasure map you can follow.
Oh, how wonderful.
Very
Yes.
cool. Very beautiful.
Yeah. So do you have any questions for Ellen?
Yeah, about the topics of a webinar. I mean, what kind? How do you construct the titles?
So you basically the same way that you construct titles for a blog post or for a sales page. So you've probably seen, if you're asking this, you've probably seen swipe files or sample headings and things like that. You want it to tell people what information they're going to get, but also be benefit oriented. So my title, and I've changed my title around, and I don't consider myself a good copywriter, but it's now High Profit Webinar Secrets. So they know they're going to learn about webinars, but they also know they're going to learn how to get, how to profit from webinars. And then sort of underneath, I keep on saying how to reach more people, grow your list, and earn more money, something like that. So those are the things I keep on emphasizing, because those are the benefits of it. So the title is important. You want it to attract people, and I would recommend testing a title. And you could certainly go on, if you're in some group, for example, on Facebook, or LinkedIn, you could try some different titles and ask people, which one would you be most likely to attend? So definitely get feedback from different titles.
Yeah, because I can come up with a title, right? But how would you test it? Because you put it out and then some sign up. So that I've done that a lot of times, but I haven't got the hang of it, how you actually test it.
Well, testing is a big topic, and I find it confusing too, but there are various programs that are specifically for A/B testing. And basically what you do is you put some code on the page that switches off, has two alternatives. There's a website called Optimizely. I'll put it in the thing that I've used. It's free, and you can set up two things. I found it a little bit difficult to work with because it wants you to put in take a section of your page and then put in new HTML. And I'm working in WordPress and Optimized Press, but it turned out that I wanted to change the button, and the button was HTML code anyway, so I could change. I wanted to try 2 different kinds of buttons, and it was a big difference actually. So, not always is it, but that's one way of doing it. So look around, and there are lots of services, both online and things that you buy that do A/B testing. If you're doing the same webinar over and over again, then you can just try one time one way, one time another way. Yeah. And like I said, you can just get feedback from people, which would you be most likely to sign up for. You could try some things by doing however you promote, and promote one way and then promote the other way and see which gives you the most results. So lots of different ways to test. Some of them are technical.
Yeah. I added the headline analyzer that I use for creating my shows, and it scores your headlines, and it's simple and it's free, and you might go and check that one out, Crystal. And the other thing is, jump on, if you're not on my Facebook group, I think I invited you, but it's the Inspirational Businesswoman Network. And come on there and test your headlines. Go to other groups that you are, that are active, and ask people which headline they like the best. I'm part of JV Insider Circle. I don't know if any of you are, but that's a great place to test headlines. I love to get feedback from people who might even be my intended audience, which is really better than anything else. So those would be my little tips.
I mean, I like your title, Inspirational Businesswoman. I mean, I love that. I just love that.
I'm glad. I love it too. It's the whole point, is to uplift and inspire people to take action on their passions. And I didn't say it this time, but oftentimes I say, that, my intention with the show is to provide a place to collaborate so that we can uplift and inspire each other. So that's why I started the Facebook group called the Inspirational Businesswoman Network. And I think I may have invited you. If not, go find it, because I think that you're already on there, and anyone else who's watching this is interested in joining me. Again, I want us all to support one another. We are so much better together than we are by ourselves. And we can provide so much better service when we support each other, share what we're doing, and be the nurturers that we women are. I mean, we're so great at this. So that's my intention for the show. I'm glad you like it.
I'm going to go to the Facebook now and check it out.
Okay. Yeah, try put up 3 different headings and ask them which they think is best, something like that. You'll get, types of responses.
That's great advice. I'm glad I just saw your banner there and I said, yeah, I'm going to go in.
Jump in.
What do you want to speak on? What's your topic? I mean, you don't have
healing. My gift is healing, and I've written now 2 books, two main books on healing. And
but you need it to be more specific than that for your webinar. That's the thing. You need to come up with something kind of specific. It's hard because people obviously come for healing for so many different ailments, both physical and mental. And so you need something kind of specific to catch people's attention.
We have worked with chakras, learned the chakra basics, reduce stress with color healing, or coloring books and stuff like that.
So when you say reduce stress with color healing, the benefit is to reduce stress. So, and you tell it what it is. They're using color. So there you have all of the aspects of those things. You tell them what it is and you give them the benefit.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much.
I just want you to know that I did post, if you want to go see the full interview that I did with Ellen over on Hangouts on Air, you can go check it out. I've given you the link here, whether or not you're watching this live or in replay, check it out. It's available to watch for the next 48 hours, so take advantage of it. Free. All I have to do is give me your name and email address, nothing much there. And, she just has provided a wealth of information for us on planning and developing profitable webinars and growing your list using them. So go get the details, because what we talked about here is an expansion of the details that we talked about over on the Hangout on Air. So Ellen, thank you so much for being here and helping me work through the technical glitches. here on Blab these days. And thank you, Margarita, for joining us. And Sheila, even though we could not hear you, we knew that you were here in spirit. So thank you as well. And I want you all to go out and have an inspired week. Go out and touch someone else's lives and make a difference. And we'll see you back here on the next show. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.